Hi YouTube, welcome to the lounge. Let's grab our friends over on Twitch here. Everybody, welcome to the Stratosphere Lounge. I'm Bill Whittle. It is the 23rd of March in the year of our Lord 2026. Who did I see? Is it Louis C.K., I think? Was talking about, boy, you want to talk about how big the Christians won. You know, we not only do we use like the Christian calendar, but everybody else does too. And I say the lounge, sorry, Stratosphere Studio, beg your pardon, sorry. Hello, everybody. Hi. Anyway, yeah, so it's got to, kind of tick off the Muslims and everybody else, I guess, to say that, it's 2026. He's a funny guy. He's a little, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Louis C.K. He's just incredibly brilliant, incredibly funny. And at least he's not, hey, how are you, buddy? Air Techie and everybody else. At least he's not, I'm sure he's a big liberal, but I'm sure at least he's not a liberal without self-reflection and, makes fun out of things. So anyway, it's good to be here. Let's see what we got. Focus, yeah, this all seems to be good. I don't have anything to show, really. I'm sorry to say I got one or two things to play. I saw some CG movie on 3i Atlas, which was interesting. Sort of a test. Let me see how many views that thing has gotten. That's obviously the rogue asteroid. Parts of it were really well done, and then there were parts of it that were just, awful. And this is why I'm so fascinated by this, because I am constantly on the lookout for things that make things look like, yeah, I slept. It might be in my history. Yeah, it might. I'm just curious to know how many views it got. Because, like I said, it's fairly well done, but it's just some dumb mistakes. Okay, I'm almost there. It doesn't matter. I probably saw it on the other channel. It's all right. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I suspect what we'll probably do is jump into the questions pretty soon here. However, I am dreadfully sorry to announce that I have to play just a little bit of Greaseman for you guys. I know that he is not for everybody, and I'm fully aware of that. And I haven't seen anything, guys. I haven't checked emails. I haven't done anything. I'm sorry. I just haven't. I know it's ridiculous, but I have been just nuts working. So it's all in there, and I haven't deleted anything. I just haven't gotten to it yet. And when I get to it, I will certainly respond. So I've had a lot of legal work to be doing on getting this thing in shape, and just not enough time in the day. Yeah, we're gonna play a little bit of Greaseman just because there's something about this whole thing that tickles me a great deal. Yesterday was William Shatner's 95th birthday. I was not aware of that. Who would have thought that he'd be the at least in the final three? I think everybody would have had money on him probably going first, but he's going strong. So it's the Shat. It's Chekhov, and then it's Sulu. I'm putting my money on Chekhov. But 95, good for him. He looks like he lost some weight, maybe got a hold of some Ozempic or something like that. But he's Bill frickin' Shatner. I did see about just a couple of moments ago. I don't know if this is true. I just saw just instantly while I was looking for that video that Starfleet Academy has been canceled. It had 2 seasons. It was funded for 2 seasons, and I think Dave Cullen or somebody said that Starfleet Academy has been canceled, even though it was funded for 2 seasons. If it has been canceled, that's a statement. That's that's a statement. That's a it's essentially breach of conflict. Yes, Starfleet Leering Academy, exactly, Dave. Anyway, here's what tickles me about doing all of this, and stuff like the Greaseman and so on. And this applies equally well, if not more so, to guys like Mike Jitlov. There are guys out there, men and women, I guess, who just had a huge effect on me on the course of my life, and I always wanted to work with them, and I thought this would be happening in my 30s. But it's taken me just a wee bit longer than I thought it would. And the idea of working with people who I don't want to say they've given up exactly, but they're certainly not as famous as they should have been, and I just love that. I just absolutely love it. There's just it just to me it's a form of a kind of like a check to myself. Who was it who did that? I guess it was Jim Carrey. Wrote himself a $1 million check, right? And when he was a nobody and finally got to the point where he could cash it. It's kind of like that for me. There's people I've always wanted to work with, people I've always just really admired, and I've gotten to meet a bunch of them, like guys like Gary Sinise and John Voight and James Woods and things like that. But there's also a lot of people out there that I'd forgotten about or almost forgotten about. And when we did I did that little, sort of amateur restoration of Mike Jitlov and Animato, which we run on the Stratosphere Lounge Show. It just makes me happy. It makes me happy to bring them back. So get them in the spotlight again, and I don't know. Maybe we'll have a big old party. We'll do nothing but play 80s music or late 70s or something like that. So I'm going to subject you to I don't know. Certainly one, maybe two. Greaseman bits that I was talking about last week. He was the shock jock is not really what he did. He produced these stories that are just so far over the top, and I guess you found out from on Thursday's show, with the whole Bill Blasky thing. I love stuff that is over, I don't know how to put this, kind of over the top in my direction, right? So guys who are guys who play like super cops and just push it to the point of absolute absurdity. I love that, and I just do. So anyway, I'm going to play you guys some Greaseman. I understand this is an acquired taste. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. I love him, and if you don't, then we'll just keep it to a minimum, and I'll just do. I think I'm going to do at least two. All right, so here we go. So here's the thing about Greaseman, just in case you weren't here last time when I mentioned him. Grease was on the air in Jacksonville when I was in college, University of Florida, and he was so over the top that we just couldn't believe it. And he did all of this stuff live, and I was thinking about the word to describe him, and it's a term that is not in use much anymore. But that term is raunchy. He's just really raunchy, and I'm generally not raunchy, but I have a connoisseur's ear for excellent raunchiness, and for the ridiculous and the absurd. Maybe it's just because I'm so kind of like mentally disciplined that I just like it when people just go off the rails. So everybody in the comment section talking about all kinds of things except for what I'm talking about, And that tells me that I'm going to be doing this show on my own for myself, which makes me happy. So here we go. We are going to do the one I told you about. And then I'm going to do the one about the planetarium. So what I'm going to do here, it's just audio only. And you know what, I can't listen to it in real time. I can only listen to it with a delay. But I'm going to listen to it anyway, I don't care. So I told you last time that he did one of them. He's got a couple of stock characters. One of them is a lawman. We ran that during the walk-in. But his other character is a Vietnam vet named Sergeant Fury. Now, I told you about the one he did with the Marine Corps Band. Well, here it is. So I'm going to turn my mic off first. And then I'm going to play Greaseman. And then I'm going to listen to him. And then there's going to be another little delay. I'm going to tee up the second one right after that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm only going to go away once. Just here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play two Greasemans for you. Greasemans. I'm going to play the Marine Corps Band with Sergeant Fury. And then I'm going to play the episode he did on working in a planetarium. And there's not a lot of radio DJs who've ever done any segments on working in a planetarium. And the planetarium one especially is really pretty vulgar. So it was on broadcast radio, so it's not profane. It's just, I'll just come out and say it. It's just kind of disgusting. Anyway, here we go. Ready? Here we go. So I'm going to turn the mic off, and then you're going to get two Greaseman shows in a row.
Yeah, she's been a part of America for a long time, right up in the forefront, hasn't she? Seems like can't get away now. She's on the arm of one of the most powerful men in America. But I remember her at another time. I remember from the days when the name on my uniforms in Grease Manelli, but everybody knew me as Sergeant Fury! Crying Tree, 1967. No, it wasn't all blood and guts, lead slaking. Every now and then they'd have a little entertainment for us. They'd ship over a 10-year-old movie we could watch in a stinking tent. Every now and then the Marine Corps Band would play. I remember sitting there at a concert listening to the band. When it was over, everybody was milling around talking. I walked up to the band leader. I said, "Hey, not bad." He said, "Thank you." I said, "No, my pleasure. Must be nice. Become a Marine, ship out to enemy territory, and play the flute. That's a real battle story to tell you kids. What you doing to war, Daddy?" I played the snare drum. He said, "Are you making fun of us?" Just then Robinson jumped up.
"Killing is my business."
I said, "At ease, Robinson, at ease." I said, "No, I'm not making fun of you guys. Better watch out. Those late night practices will give you bags under the eyes. Come on, men. We've got enemy to kill. Guns to shoot. I'd hate to get in the way of these guys tuning up their oboes."
Yeah, we all got weapons. Anybody can blow anybody away.
That's it. Hope you don't hit any clunker notes. Well, I tell you what, the guys in the band, they were getting hot. They started putting their instruments on the ground, and I could tell that we were going to bop, bip, bop, bop, bip, bop anytime soon. I was ready for a good fight. I was ready to just do some breaking my accustoments. When their commanding officer strode amongst us and said, "All right, at ease. My band playing military men is just as bit of a tough fighting Marine Corps as any man here. And we will prove it. Men, shoulder, claymore mines in the bass drum. We will march to war and show you that the band can kick ass just as good as anybody else. I said, all right, men, mount up. And I got my guys together. Before you know it, we marched on off. The VC must have wondered what the hell was going on. We walked right into enemy territory. The band was playing. I was shooting. There's one sniper they had up in the tree to shoot at us. He didn't know what the hell was going on. I took care of him with a rocket launcher. I mean, they're guys. They're playing the trumpet with one hand and they're shooting. A machine gun nest at the bottom of the hill. The guy rolled a claymore mine down the hill inside the bass drum and blew the hell out. Yeah! It was great! And then we marched around the fallen Vietnamese. Left, to the left, to the left, right, left, to the left, to the left. Yeah. Drag 'em and bag 'em. That's it. I had new respect for that marching band that day. I took my hat off to them. I said, all right, let's count the enemy dead here. We got to move on to the next battle. I looked over, and some of my men were mixing in with the musicians. Di Lorenzo had a hold of the flugelhorn, and he was like, "Hey, stop that! Stop that! That's a valuable piece of equipment there." I got down on one knee and I opened up the belly of a fallen Vietnamese. Grabbed about 3 foot of intestine out of there. Somebody said, "Hey, Sarge, what are you doing?" I said, "Relax. Just gonna restring the violin." I think the most boring job I ever had that drove me nuts, was when I worked at the planetarium. Oh, God, you want to talk boring. I'd sit there for hours at a time on my little loudspeaker. And if you'll direct your attention to the ceiling, you'll see once again the Big Dipper. But one day I got so bored by just pointing out all these constellations, I decided to have me a little fun with the crowd. Because I'd see all these upturned faces. I sat high above with a mic on a podium looking. I'd see these faces all turned up. I couldn't resist one day. As I was giving my lesson, I said, and if you look a little to the left, you'll also see the one-eyed viper. I could hear everybody going, "One-eyed viper? Is it anywhere near Orion?" Yes, the one-eyed viper. One of the more dramatic constellations in the heavens, clearly visible on the ceiling. And I can see everybody looking around and say, "Wait a minute, I don't see any one-eyed viper. Wait a minute, I can see the Little Dipper, I see Leo the Lion, but where the hell is that one-eyed viper?" You'll notice that several stars on the right-hand side form the base of the fuselage. Several stars in the middle form the shank. And circular stars form the tip. Well, by now everybody was looking at their programs with the little mini flashlights in the seat saying, "Wait a minute, I see the Scorpion up there. Yeah, Scorpio. Wait a minute, there's Nebula, Quasar. There are the spiral galaxies. There's Pulsar. There's Aquarius. The Water Twins. Yeah, I see the North Star. But where the hell's this one-eyed viper? If you squint your eyes and look to the roof of the planetarium, the one-eyed viper is clearly visible. Ironically enough, pointed toward the Milky Way. By this point, I had pandemonium. People are thinking, I can't believe I can't see it. Everybody's too stupid to say, well, we can't see it. Could you point it out with your magical celestial pointer? Somebody screamed out, are we going to be able to see a black hole? She's been given the day off, I'm sorry. General tittering in the crowd as people realized something was afoot. By that time, I had already dropped trowel. And I stood there with my fist locked around the nodule-laden viper itself. Unable to resist the upturned faces, I began frantic pumpage. Looking down at the open eyes, the open mouths, the furrowed brows, the innocent gathered to see constellations. The viper will soon be vivid. If you'll all please open your eyes as wide as possible, you will soon see the Amada. I'm sorry. Apparently that was a shooting star. I think the most boring job I ever had that drove me nuts, was when I worked at the planetarium. Oh, God, you want to talk boring. I'd sit there for hours at a time on my little loudspeaker and...
One on Dial a Bit Monday. Glad you could make it by for all the insights into my life. So many of these bits are not made up. So many of them are true. Oh, God. What price fame, Lord? Why have you given me such a brutal life? Why have you put me through such a living hell? I think the worst of all was my daddy's sex change. Yeah. He had me meet him in a bar one day, you know, and he had something to tell me, so I showed up at the bar, and he said, sit down, son. You want a Virginia Slim? Light? Extra long? Menthol? I said, no, Pop, geez, where did you start smoking Democrat? I think I'll have a Camel if you don't mind. I said, what do you have, Pop? 2 double bourbons, please. And Dad said, no, make mine a Shirley Temple. I said, Shirley, what's going on? He said, well, son, I can't hide it any longer. I'm a woman trapped inside a man's body. I said, but Dad, he said, no. Would you mind calling me Debbie? I said, Debbie? All right. But Debbie, he said, no, I thought about it. All these years when I was going to college, even when I was with your mother, I had to work so hard for Hobble the Gaggery. That was the perversion. Living like I'm living now is the perversion. But I'm flying out on the afternoon flight for Switzerland there, so I can be free at last. I said, well, if that's what you want to do, I'll still love you, Debbie, no matter what happens. He said, thank you, son. And we embraced hungrily, warmly. And I sniffed the scent of his aqua velva for the last time, because the next time I saw him, I knew it would be Aviance or Charlie that I'd be sniffing in my nasal passages. Well, I left the bar, and sure enough, a couple months later, I got a letter from Debbie. Operation was a success, sending you a surprise in the mail shortly. Well, a couple of days later, I got it. A little bottle full of formaldehyde, and in that bottle was... No, I can't say. So I threw the bottle in the closet and didn't think anything more about it. Until about 6 months later, got a phone call from him. I said, hey, Debbie! He said, no, don't call me Debbie, call me Dad. I said, what's the matter? He said, I changed my mind. Living like a dame just ain't for me. Geez, the things you gotta go through, the squeals, oh, but I want to go back to being I said, it's too late. I got the package in the mail. How can you go back to being a maid? He said, no, it's not too late. I talked to a specialist. You still get that little gift? I said, yeah, I still got it. He said, well, bring it to the hospital immediately. There's hope that maybe. But I said, really? He said, yes. I said, oh, my God. So I went whipping to the closet and I whipped out all the old galoshes and the umbrellas, and I finally found the little package, and I went running to the hospital. I was so frantic to get there to save my father from a life as a woman that I wasn't looking, and a car was squealing up to me, squealed on the brakes, I just nudged my legs a little, thank God, but I fell over and dropped the bottle with Daddy's gift. Oh, God, I was lying there in the road, whimpering, when a cop pulled up at the sound of the screeching tires, and he looked at me, he looked at the package on the ground, and he pulled out a service revolver, and he put it right to my head. I said, wait a minute, for crying out loud, what are you doing? He said, hey, I'm just trying to put you out of your misery.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's the Grease Man on DC 101.
And 101 on Dial-A-Bit Monday. Glad you could make it by for all the insights into my life. So many of these bits are not made up. So many of them are true. Oh, God. What price, fame, Lord? Why have you given me such a brutal life? Why have you put me through such...
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I really needed that. Yeah, so that was the Grease Man. He was on in Jacksonville on WAPE, and then he moved to DC and was there for like another 5, 6, 7 years. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I really needed that. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, I know he's not for everybody, and that's fine with me. But those of you who missed him, really missed him. He was, I'd never heard anything like him before or since. And he's on Facebook. He did some acting, actually. And now he's on Facebook. He's got to be about 73, 74. Got that great voice. And toned down a lot, but this was like the reason kind of almost another reason I wanted to play, aside from the fact I just love the guy, is that I just miss those days, those days where people, before people say, you can't say that. It's like, well, he did say it. And when I first heard him, we were at the University of Florida, and somebody had a radio, and it was pretty pretty weak signal, kind of scratchy. But I remember I was right outside GPA, General Purpose Building A, and somebody had a little radio, and we listened to this guy, and I just couldn't believe it. I just could not believe how talented he was. Also, there's a couple of videos of him doing it, and he does it all in one take. It's not like he sits down and lays these tracks, The Marine Corps thing, he's got like 6 sound carts, and he's popping these, he's doing the mix and everything, and it just, I don't know, man. But I really want him to do at least one voice on the colonies. I'd kind of like to have him do Cooper, actually, who's the station administrator. And we won't go all the way with the Greaseman. You can't go all the way with the Greaseman. Although I might, somewhere in season 3, I might have him roaring drunk at a party and have him just kind of lapse into it. Anyway, I just love the guy, and I love him the same way I love Mike Jitlove, because Jitlove was just unique. I mean, there's nobody like him. Jitlove and Greaseman and a few others just blew my mind. Just, I honest to God, could not believe what I was seeing or hearing, and that's a great experience, man. That's a cool experience to have. All right, let's get to some questions, why don't we? As we just give you an update on what's going on with the colonies here, we have been doing a lot of legal work, just legal groundwork. And I talked to turns out my attorney has a son who went to some very prestigious college in Georgia. I know it's practically an oxymoron, freaking Bulldogs. But no, he's a really, really brilliant kid. And he published a groundbreaking paper that got in biology that got a lot of attention. So I chatted with him for about an hour and a half, and talked about ecosystems and how they work and what we could get away with and that kind of thing. So we'd just buff up the biology as much as we could, keep everything as grounded as possible. But there's that, and I'm finally also what I've been working on. I haven't had, like I say, much to show because again, it's kind of foundational work, but I'm starting to have as much confidence in AI physical objects as I do in CGI physical objects or AI characters. These reference photos from all these different angles means that you really have it kind of locked down, and it's a strange, different workflow for me, but seeing physical structures that are repeatable and don't morph and don't warp and stuff, that's the key to the whole thing. And so I've been working on that, and I saw something about 4 or 5 hours ago, which is really, really cool, brand new tool. And what you can do is you can upload like one photo. Hopefully you can upload more than one, but you can like upload one photo. So let's say I upload a rendering of the inside of the rover. What this software does is it constructs like a 3D universe around it. And this will work for outside as well. And then just using the old, WSDZ or whatever it is on the keyboard, you can maneuver through this world, pan around, and so if you go forward and turn down to the right, there's a couch, and you can say, put Claire on the couch, and that's a huge deal. So the software just keeps evolving, and I just keep pushing the limits, and just need to start getting some frames in the bank for Cast 27, but working on that right now. So and the workflow, So when you've got hardware like the Science Hab in Cast 27 or the rover, the Smart Play is to render them and get reference frames of them at what I'm calling in the showroom. Brand new. Hey, Gerald, good to see you. Brand new. Because if you've got brand new images, then you can simply weather them later. So if you got like the rover brand new, then you can just take that brand new image and say, now put a lot of rust on there and a lot of, a couple of oil drips and snow and ice and frost. But if you start out that way, you can't really do that and then go back and either make a new one if you want a new rover or do a desert rover. So you kind of have to do it twice, but again, you get the fundamentals right, and everything after that gets a lot easier. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Marusha Dark has curated the show for tonight. Thank you very much. Marusha Dark, we got Quibo, we got Jazer McFarlane, we got Braden Higby, Capital G Geek, Robert Line, Roadrunner, Eric Blake. That's it. Good. Sounds groovy. Oh, and Natasha and I went to her wrist surgeon today, and that was her final visit. She had the surgery back in September. Her motion is back. There's no binding. The tendons are all clear. There's nothing that's interfering with the range of motion in her hand, and so she is done with the doctor. And thank you all for all of your support, not only for the wrist, obviously, but with Dubai and all the rest of it. It means the world to her, which means the world to me. We may have, in fact, we're almost very likely to have a different special guest next week. I think what we're probably going to do, I'm bringing my friend Steve Stipp in from Orlando, and because he's a terrific artist, and I could really use some help on a lot of this stuff. Steve and I have been talking the same sci-fi language forever, and I would talk about something and he'd just draw it. He's an amazing artist in that way. And now he can just draw something and Nano Banana just turn it into an asset. But I've known Steve longer than anybody else in the world. I've known him since I was 10, and I'm gonna see if I can flog him onto the show, and you get to ask same kind of questions you asked when Phil Trick was on the show, because that was really fun. We had a lot of laughs. Okay, excuse me. Here we go. Checking. He's giving me a link, and I'm trying to see if I know who we're talking about here. To Brett Cooper. I've seen him. I haven't heard him. Okay. Here's the question. Bill, have you been following the tale of the free speech champion that is Afro Man? I've seen him. Like I said, haven't listened to him. If not, or for those at home, here's a quick rundown. I have to answer one thing. It's just off to the side here from Don Vickery. We've talked about fan participation and things like that. These reference images for like the rover or for the habitats or so on, it's essentially the replacement for like a digital file. Hey, first time chat from Raider. Hey Raider, how are you? Oh, Raiders are here, are they? Are we getting an uppage? Hey, look at that. So anyway, these are like 15K images from various different renderings, and if you've got those 15K images, you can import them into animation engines. My gosh, look at this! We're going crazy. It's going insane here. Insane. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. We were talking about science fiction and how to do it, and all sorts of other things as well. And pop culture night tonight. So it's good to see you. And you just missed an exciting evening of the Grease Man, who was a radio DJ in the 1980s, who would never get on the air today, but he was freaking awesome. Anyway, back to the question here, and I'll just let the Raiders come in and out. Anyway, Marisha says, Afro Man is a rapper who got famous years ago for making songs about getting high before going into semi-retirement. The local sheriffs in Ohio busted down his door while he was out on an errand. Their warrant based on an anonymous tip that he had hard drugs and had kidnapped people. None of that turned out to be true. The police had done $20,000 worth of damage to his property, stole $400 cash, terrified his family, and refused to issue an apology, let alone pay for any of it. To raise money to pay the damages, Afro Man then started writing new songs mocking the police and sheriffs who did this, saying things like he screwed their wives and that one of the female cops was a lesbian and that one was a pedo, etc. In his music videos, he included security cam footage of them tearing up his property. Cops didn't like this, so they sued him for defamation. Did they? Did they now? They sued him for defamation in the amount of $4 million and lost. Well, screw you. That's just absurd. It's like this guy. I've heard of this guy who, true story. Guy was in a burning airplane and somebody pulled him out, and he sued the guy because apparently he dislocated his shoulder pulling him out of this burning private airplane. And people like that need to be brutalized. All right, back to the question here, if I can find it. Yes. Anyway, the police sued him for $4 million and they lost. The best part was that during court they had to sit and listen to the songs he made about them. One struggled to answer whether or not Afro Man really did have sex with his wife. Afro Man even brought the man's ex-wife in to testify as his only witness. The internet's most memeable video, however, included footage of a fat sheriff helping himself to Afro Man's lemon pound cake that was just sitting on the table, which was caught on camera. Oh my God. Oh, and I should add that Afro Man wore an American flag suit to court and declared his victory a win for free speech and property rights. I know you're normally on the side of the thin blue line, but will you join me in celebrating this absolute legend? I'm on the side of people who are honest and who obey the law and who live their own lives without hurting other people. And in this case, that sounds like Afro Man and the cops, who I generally support as being generally on that side, sound like a bunch of absolute dicks who deserved this and more. Yeah, Matt Harris has got it right. I'm on the side of justice. So I am 100% on Team Afroman, and I talk a lot about the body cam videos. I watch a lot of body cam videos. The amount of consideration and patience that the cops I've seen have is unbelievable. But every now and then you see policemen abusing their authority, and when that happens, I kind of lose my mind, because I do not know for the life of me why other policemen on the same force don't get rid of these cops. There's a shockingly small number of cops who have I don't know what the actual number is, but it's pretty near 2080 kind of thing. It's like some small number of policemen are responsible for a huge number of the abuse cases, and they keep getting hired by other police departments after they're fired. And so it's like, guys, this guy is doing more than hurting the public here. He's hurting you. If this is all people see, and this is certainly the narrative coming from the left, if this is it, then you guys have to just identify these guys and show them out. But yeah, so I'd seen Afroman, didn't know who he was. I'm on Team Afroman all the way, and way to go, Afroman, and the cops owe you a bunch of money as far as I'm concerned. Okay, moving on. Quibo Artist here. In the colonies, if Earth reaches a post-labor economy where automation handles most of the work and people live comfortably off of some form of universal income or dividend, doesn't make Earth the more attractive option? Why would anyone choose to leave for a colony that requires hard work and limits automation? That's just the compelling reason that makes the trade-off worth it, but not just beyond just necessary. This video looks like a possible future for humans, and here's a link. In the future, the average human being will be a literal battery and data information farm. Hooray. Give the average human beings basic universal income so that they can have an apartment and can afford Netflix and eat the slop at McDonald's until the AI evolves. No, this is exactly the point, Quiba. That's precisely the point. And it's the historical point. Said many times, the colonies is my attempt to tell the story of the American Revolution 250 years in the future, where it's interesting, instead of 250 years in the past, where it's also interesting if you're a historian, but otherwise not. If you think you're going to get universal basic income, if I had to guess, I would say you probably will. But if you think you're going to get free money for free, you are out of your mind. The reason that Jake is driven and takes his family with him is not just because of the rising crime and degeneracy that threatens his kids. It's because every day he's forced to do things that honorable people cannot tolerate. And if you're not an honorable person, then no problem. But from the first second we meet this guy, the first thing he does is go to buy actual roses for his wife on her birthday, and he doesn't have the social credit score. So he goes over to an automated voting machine and votes 5 times for the incumbent and gives him 5 stars. And that raises his social credit score enough so that he can buy these flowers, and he feels like a dirtbag for it, because he knows that there's crime on the streets and that everybody's stealing all this money. I really like, I don't know that I've heard this before. Oh, I do know that I've never heard this before in science fiction. Science fiction is so big and wide, I'm not saying it's never been done before, I'm just saying I've never heard of it. And that's the idea of hereditary bureaucracies. And having these people talking in terms of, it'd be a really good match for my son to marry this guy's daughter, because she's going to be the head of water and power for the entire Southeast, and with our son poised to be writing regulations or poised to be a senator, whatever the case may be. That kind of thing is just people can't take it. Now, that means some people can't take it. Obviously, lots and lots and lots of people left their homes to come to the United States during the 1800s and 1900s primarily. But most of them didn't. Most of the people stayed home. And those are the people I'm interested in. Those are the people that made America unique, and those are the people that we are that are rapidly dissolving. They're not dissolving into the population. It's just fewer and fewer and fewer of them, because those people are generally made by hardship and risk, and the freedom to take risks in exchange for a reward. And when those opportunities go away or get narrowed down to the point where you can hardly even measure them anymore, then certain peoples get the hell out of there. And I would be one of them if there was a place to go. So it's not a question of them sitting there. This is why I'm trying to avoid tropes. And there's a bunch of tropes I'm trying to avoid, but the most important trope I'm trying to avoid is the Earth is dying trope, which is the most absurd science fiction motivation I've ever seen, and it powers every single movie that's out there now. We must go to this planet because the Earth is dying. We've ruined the Earth, and so now we must go and live on. There's actually a movie where people leave the Earth to go live on Io, which is the most radioactive, poisonous near vacuum atmosphere. And they have to leave Earth to go live on Io because there's too much plastic in the ocean, or whatever the case may be. Plastic in the ocean is a specific case that I do think is a serious threat. But people who are my age know that the Earth is much, much, much cleaner now than it was when we were kids in the 60s. Much, much, much cleaner. Because back then we were trying to fight actual pollution, which meant mercury and carbon monoxide and lead fumes in the air and all the rest of it. But the Earth in the colonies is going to be lush. I made a point on one of the shows I did with Mike Rowe that when I was a kid, my dad took me to the Museum of Natural History in New York to show me the life-size model of a blue whale that they have there. He said, "You're never going to see one. They're practically extinct. I don't think you're going to live. I think by the time you're old enough to go out looking for a whale, they'll be gone." And the same thing for bald eagles. And I was telling Mike, I've seen 40 bald eagles sitting on a rock, and these blue whales are everywhere off the coast. They just keep finding more and more of them. They're all coming back. And so are the buffalo and apparently the California condor now. And so I'm just not buying that. And one of the things I have to do, which is an interesting challenge, is in the first episode, Jake has to go to this abandoned arcology, which is it's like a city-sized factory. And he has to go out there pretty much on his own, and it looks like a desert. It needs to look like a desert. It looks like it's been reclaimed by the desert. And I thought the last thing I want is him out there in the heat, because then everybody's going to say, "Oh, look, it's global warming." So he's going to be out there, and it's going to look like a desert. It's going to be bright sunshine, but it's going to be freezing cold. It's going to be in the 30s. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about doing. But no, it's going to be, what I'm trying to say is it's not going to be any dystopias in the sense that, you just got a bunch of guys who are jacking into, neural nets as they, eat their gruel. But there will not be any ownership. There will not be any freedom. And most people will take that deal. And those are the people that we got to watch out for. So there's that. Jazer McFarland. Hey, Jazer, the coolest name ever. Awesome avatar, too. Wanted to share my most Lord of the Rings thing I've seen since the Lord of the Rings. It's extremely short, but all I wanted is for this video to never end. What engine are they using to produce this? Here's a link. This is where AI is starting to come into its own. So I'm looking at a post victory over Sauron, Lord of the Rings, and it's Aragorn at Minas Tirith, and he's there with his wife, and they're having a party, and babies are being born, and all of this stuff, and it looks exactly like the movie. And just some of the wider shots a little bit soft, but this will go away in 6 months. There's Aragorn on the balcony kissing I don't know. Come on. Arwen. So this kind of thing is great. I mentioned a couple weeks ago there's a Star Trek guy who is doing like, I'm sorry, a Star Wars guy who's doing like missing scenes from Star Wars, and he's doing like this is how Darth Maul survived being cut in half. He ends up in this trash thing, and you know, and they're done by the fans, and they're fantastic. And I've said this many times, and mark my words, because this is really going to be the thing. From this point forward, from the point of the Acolyte in Star Wars and from Starfleet Academy, from that point forward, fans of the franchise will not buy anything that the studio puts out, and the only thing that will have any respect at all will be the fan fiction. What a reversal. But the genius of this technology is it allows regular people to make feature films. And if AI slop is a thing, and it is, that just means that, well, you know, if you give 100 people a canvas and a set of paints, some of them are going to do better than others. But yes, it's absolutely amazing. And he said, and he nails it on the head here. He says, "This is what amazing care to detail looks like." Also, are there any parts of the Colony story that we could try writing a bit about, either for inspiration or appreciation? Best wishes to you. I've got a draft of that initial kind of agreement letter for people that are doing. Links, please. I'll give you one of them. Hang on. I was mentioning I saw something yesterday that was pretty detailed. It was a lot of work and had moments that were very good, had moments that were cinematic. But AI slop is not just this is something I hadn't really realized before. It's not just that they get the AI wrong. AI slop is a product of having something that looks like a feature film, but some of the real basics are wrong. For example, in this thing called 3i, about 3i Atlas, it's a simple example, but it's a telling example. He's got these guys, and they get picked up by an osprey. And the inside of the osprey looks great. The shot of the osprey flying looks great. All this stuff looks great. It's seamless. Fantastic. Fantastic. Except the osprey is going along in full speed cruise, and the rotors are vertical, just like helicopters. And that means that whoever made that movie didn't do the research to, the basic research to do that. And so this is another thing where I feel like we're really unique here, because my background with the physics, the astronomy, the military technology, aviation, all of those things are very strong. And I go to experts like Air Techie and others when I need it stronger. And things like that would never get past a feature film studio. So, it just kind of ruins it. And and a guy made the same mistake too, and that is that the two lead characters look so much like each other that you can barely tell them apart. So, I don't know. Air Force guys flying Ospreys. I don't believe they do they? Is that who actually flies? Is that Army? Army aviation? It must be. Yeah, it must be. And I guess the Navy has a few, and I guess the Marines have a few, but I don't think the Air Force has any, or the Chair Force. No offense. Navy and Marines, yeah. Navy and Marines, fantastic. Okay, well that works. But it wasn't the Air Force. And this guy's plus he's wearing a Tactical Air Command patch. which is a really cool patch. And I love the Tactical Air Command. I wanted to be in the Tactical Air Command. I was all set to go fly in the Tactical Air Command. There's no more Tactical Air Command anymore. And true enough, most people won't see the details, but I will, and the hardcore fans will, and that's why we're going to get every single thing right. Every single thing. Now, speaking about this technology, I'll tell you what I would like to see done, really like to see done. It's just I don't have the time or the inclination for it, but after the funding for the colonies, the thing I would favor most in terms of crowdfunding, not for me, but for somebody else, some consortium of other artists to do it, would be I would like people to raise significant money, so that they could do the Silmarillion, all of it. All of it. And that will happen. You can't trust the studios with this stuff anymore. You just can't. I saw a snippet. I've seen reviews of all of the Star Trek, Starfleet Leering Academy, but I haven't seen very many clips at all. First of all, what happened to Holly Hunter? She talks like this all the time now. I mean, she wasn't like that before. Forget how ridiculous her character is. But what I saw was a scene of the large Jem'Hadar woman. Apparently, they're only males, but that doesn't matter to the the millennials that are writing this show and who don't know anything about anything. And she, of course, is the lover of Tig Notaro, who's the chief engineer, I think. And just forget the fact that the idea that the chief engineer and the executive officer are sleeping together. Just put that aside. I think the line was the large Jem'Hadar woman, half Klingon, half Jem'Hadar, said, it says to Tig Notaro something to the effect of, I'm not making this up, you forgot to warm up the replicator, so our turducken dinner is ruined. And Tig Notaro says, I'm sorry, my love. I'm sorry, my love. I forgot to warm up the replicator. I adore Holly Hunter. I thought her performance in Raising Arizona is one of my favorite movies of all times. Epic Guest says it ends at 2 seasons. I saw somebody reporting that the second season has been canceled. I'd like to know if that's true, but I saw it by a guy who does regular commentary. Yes, she didn't warm up the replicator. That's the actual line that they used. They've got sonar in space, and of course the burn, where some kid somewhere with telepathic abilities has a conniption fit and destroys all of the dilithium in the galaxy. Anything that's running on dilithium explodes. It's called the burn. It wasn't some chemical reaction. It wasn't some... I could have choked on but lived with a collapse of the energy barrier that surrounds the galaxy. All of that. Nope. Somebody had a cow and screamed really loud, and apparently if you have enough of a temper tantrum, you can destroy every single ship in the galaxy. I know a lot of people are saying it's that it's already funded or shot, but Eric, you're too sensitive about millennials. They're millennials. That's all they know how to write about. They are leftist millennials, but they're millennials. Boomers don't write about gay Klingons. It would never occur to us to write about gay Klingons. But I saw somebody said it was canceled, and I think if Ellison took over, he should just put a stake in it. Anyway, Jay-Z, you're right. It's phenomenal, and it's going to get better. Great thing about AI, as they say in the AI biz, this is as bad as it's going to look. So there you go. Braden Higby, howdy from Idaho. Hello, Braden. How has aviation changed in the colonies? Funny you mention that. What does general aviation look like on Niflheim? Because I haven't seen much talk about it, DARPA has announced the X-76 technology demonstrator to combine high cruising speeds above 400 knots and VTOL hover capabilities. I've attached one of their artist renditions because it looks straight out of sci-fi. Oh, it's pretty cool how they fold the rotors back. That's a neat touch. All aviation on Niflheim, at least the people who virtually all of the, I don't think it's really much general aviation in terms like people owning their own stuff, but virtually everything is VTOL, and you got two ways to do the VTOL. You can use rotors and you can use jets or rockets. Obviously, if you're going to go from the surface to orbit, you need rockets, but they're not nearly as efficient as rotors. So pretty much all of the air travel on Niflheim is tilt rotor technology, which is great. If it's not tilt rotor technology, then it's going to be tilt motor rocket engines. And I love that. Yeah, that's right. AirTechie says would see Niflheim as similar to Alaska. Yes, there's a lot of traveling. The very, very opening shot of CAS 27 is a shot that's not quite from orbit, but it's from 40 or 50,000 feet, and it's just a white plane to the horizon. There's one little brown line, and that rover is going down that brown line. They're on a 6-hour drive across terrain that essentially is just a cue ball. You can go a lot faster in the air than you can on the ground. Yes, horizontal takeoff to orbit. That's right. Those are, I'm calling them GTOs, ground to orbits. And those are pretty fuel thirsty, but then again, there's really no other way to do it. So, we got 250 years of engineering to develop some significant advances in specific impulse, which is essentially the amount of thrust you can get out of a unit of fuel. So that's an engineering issue. Gravity on that planet's a little bit lower. But the props add realism. There's an awful lot of realism to here's what I'm trying to say. I want this to feel close enough to our time so that there's a lot of technology is still usable there, and tilt rotor technology is one of them, and that to me makes it feel like it's more believable. Like, of all the things I would like to accomplish, I've talked about everything. I've talked about families, talked about Gen Z, all of it. But of all the things I'd like to accomplish with this, I'd like to set an entire generation or several generations back into the belief that we can build this stuff. That it's not magic, it's not fantasy, it's not impossible, it's not wishful thinking. We can build it. And all we're waiting to do and build it is have the will to go out and do it. Trinity says the rotors in Dune were great. Yeah, I didn't like the ornithopters, were they, in the original Dune movie, but the ones in the new one, when they started warming up, and it was just like the cycling of rotors, the thopters were freaking awesome. I loved them. They looked so believable, really believable. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work either, at least not immediately. Also, Drone Guy says, I can imagine a few scenes on a frozen planet where they use land yachts and have a great time. Yeah, on ice fields, that'd be cool. The nice thing about this, too, is there's periods when both Jake and Will are sleeping. Self-driving car, especially when it's on the roadway. But sometimes you want to take the controls, and, that's kind of cool. Cyclorotors, says Coffee Shinato. Icebreakers, I don't think that this is a Magnus effect, or is it Coanda? That's impressive. It's ugly, but it's impressive. I was looking at Google Earth the other day, looking at Bermuda where I grew up, and I mentioned a couple shows ago or last show my alma mater and song in Latin, and yeah, it's an Autobahn, Don. It's two mud ruts that go on for hundreds and hundreds of miles. But I was looking at all these places where I'd grown up in Bermuda. What's the point of this story, Bill? Come on, you can do it. You can do it, Bill. Gone. Oh, right, rotors. Thank you. And I looked at my my house, the house that I lived in for 8 of the 10 years I was there, called Spindrift. One of the many, 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 many charming things about Bermuda, many, many charming things, is that houses did not have street numbers. They had names. I guess they've got street numbers now, but at the time, taxi drivers just had to know the name of the house, or maybe somebody could give them, directions or something. But our house was overlooking the ocean in Southampton, and our house was called Spindrift, which is just a beautiful name. So I was on the road on Google Earth. Go down, fly down to the road, and you're looking at Google Maps, and it's clearly my house has been really upgraded, obviously. And they put a row of trees down by the road, but there's a drop. And I remember that drop being about 8 to 10 feet tall, but looking at it now, I suspect it's probably more like 3 to 4. But my dad had gotten me a kite. We did a lot of kite flying in Bermuda. That's a big deal. Bermuda is 20 miles long and a mile wide, in a curve, in a fishhook shape. So a lot of kite flying. I mean, I flew so many damn kites. I built a lot of kites. But he got a kite that had these rotating cylinders, and my Uncle Ted, who was a aeronautical engineer, was talking about Coanda effect and Magnus effect. And if you have rotating tube, it turns out that there's a low pressure area above the tube, and that provides lift, and off it goes. And so my dad had this thing, and he was at the top of the hill up by the house, and I was like halfway down the hill, and I had the string, and I start running, and the thing starts spinning and starts going up. Not a whole lot of wind, and I'm running, and I'm looking at this thing. It didn't even look like a kite, and I start turning around, I start running backwards. I'm looking at this thing, seeing if it's going up, and then I see my dad pointing. He's like, "What?" And he's like, "Bill," and I, what? And the next thing I know, I'm lying on my back, looking up at the sky, and the Coanda kite is just waffling down, and I had just run myself right off of that cliff backwards without looking, which is not such a great idea. However, it does go to show you that if you don't know you're going to fall, you often get hurt a lot less because you don't tense up. I just plain was walking, running, and then next thing I know, I'm on the ground looking up. So anyway, that was cool. Yeah, it looks great, buddy. So yeah, I've got, and I did a test of some tilt rotor stuff. So yeah, and there are the main highways are North Shore Road, South Shore Road, and Middle Road, and chances are good that the brighter of you out there can figure out which one of those they were. So there's that. Capital G Geek, greetings from the swamps of Northern Virginia. Hello. Throughout history, colonies have returned something valuable to the supporting country, which offset the expense of sending them goods that they couldn't produce themselves or exotic luxuries. Exactly. What does Niflheim have that the rest of humanity want badly enough to support them? Apologies if I already covered and missed it. I haven't. Also, was the last TSL uploaded to YouTube? I didn't see it there, or Rumble when I was looking on Sunday. Should be there. I record them on YouTube. I don't have to upload them. They just record themselves there. But it should be there. But this is a really good question, and one that's been causing me some thinking. I still haven't figured out what it is. I know what I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be a mining colony. I know that in the colonies universe, there's going to be very few places, probably 7 or 8, I would say, where you could actually go outside and not die instantly. I've got the oxygen level on Niflheim is Sniffelheim is a little low. I might have to change that when I start getting into the biology of the thing. But no, this is a thought that's actually given me some trouble. Capital. It's got to be something. They call it. Eric says, in the idea that Niflheim isn't an official colony, but a place people who wanted out of Earth's insanity fled. Well, somebody had to set up these dice lines. Somebody had to pay for all of this. There's, that's not something you can do out of your own pocket. So, no, it's not their own colony. It can't be. There's the capital expense up front is way too high. Manufacturing that's enhanced by the environment is a possibility. I didn't stay with it, toyed with the idea that that it would be something along the lines of Australian, convicts or something like that. I didn't like that either. I think the fact that it's an air-breathing planet, or a planet with breathable air, rather, I think that they just, well, first of all, the productivity is so large. There's just so much stuff that the calculation is, look, a habitable planet. You can't put a price on what that's going to be worth, even if it's just real estate and no resources. I guess when you really get right down to it, you could make the case that it's in the interest of the Earth government to pay for this, to subsidize it, because it's a chance to have 100 people turn into 100,000 people, turn into 50 million people, all of them with their own livelihoods, and it's really a way just to keep increasing their tax base, their revenue. So even if it's not, it's hardly a resort colony, even if it's not specifically sending like lots and lots of resources back, what it's doing is it's growing the population and their hardworking people. And just like with the British colonies, like I said, I'm trying to keep this conforming to the American experiment as much as possible. I mean, not a lot got shipped back from the English colonies. I'm sure timber did, and furs and things like that. But the British just assumed that they would be able to tax these guys forever. And they were wrong about that. Matt says getting rid of the troublemakers too. There's a difference between convicts and troublemakers, and the kind of people that inhabit Niflheim are people that the Earth government would like to not be there. They're independent, they're resourceful, they're proud, and it suits them. So maybe they can make an economic case just to get. You're not shipping the troublemakers away. You're giving them a place to self-select, and so that's something else as well, I think. Oh, here's a cool question. Robert Line, Air Techie. Hey, salve, Bill. Salve, Robert. Are we considering the possible colonization of brown dwarfs in the colonies? Yes, we are, but we're not going to talk about that. At least we can talk about it backstage, but inside the show, we're going to make it clear that they're there, but we're not going to get into a whole lot of details for reasons I will reveal in a moment. Most of Sci-fi normally writes them off as failed stars, which they are in a way, but that does not make them useless. So a red dwarf is a star much smaller than the sun. Most of the stars in the galaxy are red dwarfs. They're invisible to the naked eye. The second closest star to the sun is Barnard's star. Second closest star to the sun, and I think it's a 6 magnitude star, which means it's just barely visible to the naked eye. Closest star is Alpha Centauri, which is a G and K pair with an M companion. But Alpha Centauri is the third brightest star in the sky, and it's a bright star because it's close. But the second closest star, which is at 6 light years instead of 4.5, Barnard's star is barely visible because it's a red dwarf. So red dwarf is still a star. It just burns hydrogen much more slowly because it's less massive. Below them are brown dwarfs that don't actually fuse hydrogen. They're not true stars, but because I think if I remember correctly, the lower limit for a brown dwarf is about 11 Jupiter masses. So if you had a planet that was 11 times the size of Jupiter, I forget what it takes for Jupiter to become a star, maybe 20 or 40, but basically there's so much gravity there that it emits a lot of heat, a lot of infrared, just out of contraction, even without the fusion. Now, what's cool about this is that we are only now beginning to discover these brown dwarfs, and turns out there are brown dwarfs out there that are very close. I don't think there are any that we've discovered yet that are closer than Proxima, but there are several out there that are within 10 light years, several. And we keep discovering new ones all the time. So imagine there's a giant planet out there in space, and it's, if it had 11 Jupiter's masses, it'd probably have 3 times the diameter, 4 times the diameter of Jupiter. If you were close enough to it, you would get heat. You wouldn't get light, but you'd get heat. Enough heat to make it habitable, and probably enough dark red light to give you, some sense of something. It'd be like a glowing charcoal briquette up in the sky. Now, these things are out there, and we keep finding them, and now that we have these new tools like Gaia and so on, we may end up finding, we're finding lots of them we didn't know them. So basically, we've got the nearest stars, probably 250 stars within a 30 or 40 light year range, and then sprinkled in between these are potentially hundreds, maybe even thousands of these planetos, I think sometimes people call them. And what's cool about these things is that they could, at the very least, you could think of them as the kind of islands in the Pacific that were uninhabited, like Pitcairn Island or something like that. It's a place where you can wash up from shore and walk around. And I plan to put a number of bases out there, military bases, because they are they're interesting. Most people don't know them. The names of the two, I think there's a pair that are really, really, really close to us. I want to say it's within, well, I don't think it could be within, it feels like it's 3 light years. Maybe it's 4.5, 5, something, but it's not far. And we may find ones much closer. It's possible, not exactly likely, because what's likely is we would discover the closest ones first, but it's possible that we could find brown dwarfs that are significantly closer than Proxima Centauri. And that would be an interesting situation. I mean, if you would consider them a refueling station, it would be obvious to people with better minds than me, but I can't decide if you had let's say you had a brown dwarf that was halfway to Alpha Centauri, and you could stop there and refuel. Would that make the trip longer or shorter? Obviously, having to stop would make it longer, make the trip longer. But you wouldn't have to carry as much fuel. You wouldn't have to accelerate as much fuel. I don't know. Somebody could figure that out, but not me. In any event, longer, AirTechie says longer. Yeah, I'm sure he's right. Yes, we want to go through the effort of including them. Absolutely, we do. And they are also in Space Engine. Every time they discover new ones and they do an update of Space Engines, it's right there. So that's pretty cool. 2 to go. And that suits me fine because I'm hungry and I still have stuff to do. Roadrunner, hey, Roadrunner, greeting friends. Bill, hello, Roadrunner, how are you? While we were waiting patiently last Thursday, oh my God, I was so embarrassed about that. I just slept right through the show. While we were waiting patiently for the show to start, there was some speculation that you may have taken a Stratonap. Correct, I did. We had a short debate on whether the Stratofan should chip in and buy you a Keurig for your studio, or whether a case of Jolt Cola would work better. Do you have a preference? Yeah, my preference would be go find Jesse, now that Walter White is dead, and get as much blue methamphetamine as you possibly can, because that is what it's going to take. I'm not a big coffee drinker at all, but I used to when I would go for long drives. One time I drove from I can't remember if it was Miami or Fort Lauderdale, but I drove from, let's say it was Fort Lauderdale to Gainesville, specifically to go to a party, and that's a 5-hour drive. And I got to the party, and I was going to spend a night or two there, and I got to the party, and it just, I don't know, something just really pissed me off. I don't remember what it was, and I decided, screw it, I'm going back. So I went to the 7-Eleven and I got a bunch of caffeine pills. I forget what these damn things are called. The yellow pills are nasty. But I took a couple and I was like, wow, good. And then, 3 hours on the 6-hour drive back, I was debating on a couple more of those. And I got back to the apartment. I was living by myself. And I was just like, I fell into bed and I was just lying there like shaking, it's like really No-Dos, yeah. There's a yellow one. No-Dos are I was looking for No-Dos, but it wasn't No-Dos. Vivarin. Thank you, Dave. He would know. He's a truck driver. And that was, how I done it. I was just caffeine up. But then later when I started doing longer drives, when I got tired, I would pull over at a rest station and I'd take a nap for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. And that really works well. Maybe even an hour. That little, a half an hour nap can really knock the rust off and get you another good 3 hours worth of traveling. So there you go. Dave Big Booty says, I never use the pills, just use the Fillmore cup from Pilot. Roadrunner says, I made it from LA to the Panhandle of Florida on a 6-pack of Jolt. Did you really, dude? That's what? That's no less than 2.5 days of nonstop driving. Wow. And by the way, that frickin' Panhandle, his teeth felt fuzzy, but I know that feeling actually. That Panhandle is brutal. If you ever drive like from South Florida, or even if you drive from like mid-Florida, Gainesville to California or something, you get up to the top of the peninsula and you turn left right around Jacksonville, and you think, okay, I've gone from Miami to Jacksonville, I'm practically home free. It's like, no, Jacksonville to the end of the Panhandle is damn near the distance of Jacksonville down to Miami, damn near. Another 4 or 5 hours in Florida before you get out of there, that frickin' Panhandle. Yeah, I did a lot of long distance driving, and I only did the napping late, and it's worked really well for me. So I usually take a nap before the Strata shows. I did I not get Jaser McFarlane? I got Jaser. Yeah, he was doing the Lord of the Rings thing, and I talked about how all of that stuff was gonna go to the hands of the people that love it, the fans. Eric says, when I was at USF, I had to get hopped up on 5-hour energy drinks for Don Eider to finish my film for the Campus Movie Fest. Oh, congratulations. Yikes. I have to run this. Hang on. All right, well, you want to be that way, we'll do it this way. Our friend Roadrunner often uploads mirth-making memes, and here's one that just has to go because of what happened recently. Here you go. This is courtesy of Roadrunner. Oops. You son of a gun. Boy, I do hate this. I forget the name of it again. Streamlabs desktop. OBS is fantastic, but desktop is just, I don't know why, it's just really, really kludgy. We'll leave that up there for the time being as a sign of respect. And here we go, finally. Tonight, the case of the crackling Camaro. All right. From Eric Blake. Hey, Bill, fun question tonight. What's remaining on your renovation checklist for the bitchin' Camaro? As you may know, Quentin Tarantino once noted that after Pulp Fiction came out and everyone was raving about it as a capital M masterpiece, he found himself more aware of his own mortality. Maybe I just did what I was put on this earth to do. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about this. Exactly how I feel about it. So his friends advised him to bring his car to a stunt crew and hire them to make death proof, basically a steel frame, if I recall correctly, to make it sturdy enough to completely survive a crash. Just thought, especially since, you live in Lefty Mecca. Well, first of all, I would say I got 80% of the upgrade of the stock Camaro to the bitchin' Camaro. My Camaro, through acts of chicanery and mischief, I thought I was buying a Rally Sport, but I was buying the 2LT or whatever. Pretty much a stock Camaro. So I did the wheels and the tires. I did the LED headlights and taillights. I replaced the dashboard with a bitchin' instrument cluster. I did the doors that have LED lighting strips on them. I did LED reverse lights, LED tag lights. And what I found to my dismay, I got a brand new silver front bumper sitting in my garage just waiting to go on there. But what I found to my dismay was I could get the Rally Sport instrument cluster in there. That would work. And I could get the Rally Sport doors with the LED stripes on them, and that would work. But everything is tied into the radio, and the car would have to be pretty much reharnessed. And that's a big job. So I was going to do the heads-up display. Had to have a heads-up display. And I was going to do the heads-up display again through the upgrade of the instrument cluster. But I ended up getting a $40 actual heads-up display, which I like an awful lot and is good enough and is a lot less trouble. So when I find myself rolling in cash, I'm going to I'll probably go to an auto shop and see if they could rewire it. Because and by the way, they sell the wiring harness, so I could do it because I had that car in pieces. I did all the wiring on all of these things, but I have to change the radio module in order to get the thing up to maximum bitchingness. Not bitchiness, bitchingness. So that was fun. Put new plugs in. I did a lot. Got it almost all the way there, but it was fantastic. And as far as the collision ability goes, the bitchin' Camaro is a pretty low car, but it's an astonishingly wide car. I mean, it's just huge, wide and low car, and it's got a lot of front end. There's a you can launch jets off of the hood of this thing. There's a lot of territory in front of me, and it handles super well. The road feel is great, so I'm feeling pretty good about it as far as crash worthiness goes. One of the things, the Camaro, when they brought them back in 2010, has got probably the shortest distance between the top of the door and the bottom of the roof. It's a very, very, very low cabin. That's why it looks so cool. The visibility anywhere other than straight ahead is awful, but who needs to see what's behind me is not important. But the thought occurred to me that since the actual top of the car is so close to the fuselage, that I think it'd take a rollover pretty well. It's got a real wide base to distribute the load, and besides, I'm already sitting so low in the car. I don't know if it would do anything other than make me sit lower. But we'll see. I don't like to think about those things, but it is good to talk about them because you never know. There's nothing out there that I would like to drive, with the exception of the Stingray. I liked the, I don't know what version this is. I want to say it's the V7. I'm not sure. The one with the side scoops. The one prior to that, which was compact and small and really cool. And just the one prior to the current one was fantastic. Burt Rutan has one of those, or had one of those. That was a great car. But the side engine Corvette is, that's a reward. That's getting something off the ground. I don't think I'd be getting a new one, but I do love the looks of that car. I just love it. It's a fantastic, good-looking car. Is it the 8, the C8? Yeah. So the C8 is the side, the one with the side scoops and the center-mounted engine. Well, the C7 and the C8 are beautiful, beautiful cars, and that's the only other thing I can think of, honestly. I can't think of anything else I'd rather drive. And Camaros have been discontinued for the foreseeable future, which is fine. They had to put it out of its misery. The last couple years of the Camaro got real round as usual, and they just kind of, puke it down and kind of fem it out. And I was like, I used to like it better when it looked like I was eating other things for dinner. The mid-engine. Okay, well, I think that's it. That's all of the questions. And I would like to get a bite to eat, and I have some colonies work to do. Rough Ryan says, Mo Power for Life, hooray. Got a really low center of gravity, though. That thing is really, really on the road. It just really likes being on the road. And I got the V6 because if I got the V8, I know I would have gotten tickets every day. But the V6 has plenty of zip. I really put the foot down on that thing like getting on a freeway ramp or something. It goes. It didn't go crazy but it goes. My friend Brent Regan has whatever the Tesla Plaid sports car is, and that thing actually has a launch mode. Apparently, it actually has a mode where you can set the brakes, give it all of the accelerator on the electric car, and it will torque up as much as it can before it releases the brakes, and then that thing just, like I've said many times, I thought I'd grade out in that car. I've never felt acceleration like that, ever. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. Okay, well, I think that'll do it. So that'll be it for this edition of the Stratosphere Studio, brought to you by our members at BillWhittle.com, who've been with us these many years. And best wishes to Natasha. Hopefully, we'll have that fat bastard Steve Stipp, my friend there, next week, and you can ask him all kinds of embarrassing questions about what I was like when I was a complete, absolute, bat guano crazy lunatic teenager. But until then, again, thanks to our members for making this possible, and we will see all of you guys on Thursday for your very own Stratosphere Lounge.